If it
Alright.
shoots you, you'll probably die.
I like that one.
Killing all the bees. Killing
Killing
all
all
the
the
bees.
bees. We don't know
Don't
why,
know why.
but she's killing all the
Killing
bees.
all the bees.
I like that's how we start the no stream.
Yeah, the first thing you probably hear is you'll probably die.
You'll probably die.
I can't believe people actually watch our dev streams on YouTube because it's probably really weird, especially with us making random memes.
Oh yeah, by the fucking way, speaking of the YouTube, I got a comment today saying mobile port. I swear to
I feel like
fucking
someone's
God.
trying to fuck with me at this point,
Yeah, I have a feeling they're just,
getting a rise out of you. Because every time you mention it, it's probably feeling like, yes, do it again.
It's annoying. I'm tired of seeing it. It's not funny.
You should make a bot that automatically deletes the comments.
By
If
the way,
that's even possible.
this year's for everyone.
Ah, delightful.
Bitch. Oh, Karoni played through Sonic 1? Oh.
Awesome, Learn. How's
Yeah.
it going? Sopica? I don't know how to pronounce that. I've been meaning to ping the media alert every time we do our dev stream because it's technically Infinity Plus related media. So I've been wanting to do it more often. I just keep forgetting.
How come it says here that you're doing science and technology?
Because that's what I set it to. Because all we're doing is we're looking at the Unreal Engine, and apparently that's what Unreal streams under. Unreal used to
Unreal
have...
has a category.
No, there isn't. Not anymore. There used to be an Unreal category, but there isn't anymore.
Damn, that's kind of sad.
Which fucking, yeah, that's sad. It fucking sucks, because I would stream under the Unreal category, because we are using the Unreal Engine. I don't want to stream under a game that we're not actually playing.
It would be funny if, like, people, like, come here, especially science and technology, but it's just some stupid Sonic nerds trying to make a game. / framework.
Yeah, the official Unreal Twitch channel streams under the science and technology tab, so that's what I put it as. So
to all the science nerds respecting science, this ain't it.
If that upsets you, then I don't care.
Oh, there's that F that they found.
How's
They
it going,
found the
Tacky?
Fizz coin.
Alright, well, Reese is gonna play Minecraft, and not be part of stream, so...
I am part of the stream.
No, you're not.
I'm just trying to find something and I'm going to join.
Yeah, okay. Keep telling yourself that. Anywho, back to Cool Land, where people aren't playing Minecraft. Hello, ladies.
They're not playing Steve from Smash Brothers.
Hello, Hacky84. Hacky.
I remember, which is weird.
I like Hacky though, but okay.
Hacky.
Weave. We actually have that sound effect in our audio files. We have weave and yeet.
We do have yeet. I was about to ask why do we have yeet, but then I remember why we had yeet.
I think it was in there before. I think Oban originally actually put that in there.
I think he did. He did have yeet in there for some reason.
Yeah, and I added it to the Sonic Boom when you're wearing Tim's.
Yeah, you repurposed it to the Sonic Boom, is what it was.
I feel like that was the appropriate usage of it.
Yeah. We need to rework the Sonic Boom. That's something we need to do. But
yeah, I know.
It's not a priority. Oh, excuse me. It's not a priority, and whenever we get around to it, I'll probably handle it.
Damn, do you really not trust me anymore?
I mean, it was my move, and I have been working on most of the master restructuring, so...
Yeah, well, it's going to be for Sonic specifically. Also, I was kidding. Like, I should probably also look at it too, because it was, like, really jankily put together before the rework, before I knew how to make code not as shit. So I may also give it a look over too.
Alright,
anywho, engine.
5 minutes now. The 5-minute holding time has passed, so... How's it going,
what should we show first?
It's the Infinity Plus Dev stream time. Woo, yeah.
Woo!
I'm tired. Not tired enough to do a tier list halfway through, though. Because we actually have shit to show off this time, so... Yeah, we have a lot of stuff to show off, actually.
Hey, Michael, sorry, cat. Or Michael.
How's it going, Michael?
Yeah, Michael rolls off the tongue better.
What do we show off first? I guess we could show off the springs first, real quick.
The dong slider.
Oh yeah.
Just see the dong slider. We just show off the dong slider.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll show off the dong slider. That's what we've been secretly working on this whole time.
Yeah.
It bugs me that the panning material on this only lines up on one side for the tops and bottoms.
Don't look at me.
That's just kind of how that's got to work.
Yeah, I know. It just bugs me. Anyway. Oh no. Anyway. Alright, so if anyone has been keeping up with our... I'm getting rid of this background music. No background music.
I've added 2 new songs, by the way, to like the list you could choose from.
Okay.
Great.
I told you not to play the BGM. It says play background music. It's
Oh.
false. That is not working.
Huh.
Alright, no background music. There we go.
No background music for you.
I'm too tired to listen to this music because I can't hear my own thoughts with the music playing. Alright, so the first thing we're going to be showing off here are related to the springs and the spring trajectories. We've shown this off on the Twitter, and if you are part of the Discord server, you've also seen it. But springs still function the way that they used to, where you can set their strength in their direction, like their velocity, strength, in the direction and such. So, where's it at? Spring power. That still is a variable you can use and control if the spring type is set to basic. So if I, for example, made this like 5,000.
Your face is kind of covering up the bottom part of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Your avatar's face, I mean.
Yeah.
Does he want to reflect me?
Let me hide Fizz real quick. Where is Fizz? Is this it? Yes, that's it.
He just blinks out. He's like, ah!
Nope.
Nope.
So yeah, he wasn't really hiding this because it's actually at the very top, but you can still do that. As you can see, if I put it back to 2,000, it won't launch you as high. So this is still technically complete functional if you wanted to use the original style. But we now have an enum here that can dictate whether it's a basic spring, a pre-calculated spring, or a momentum spring. And I gotta change the construction script to show up because currently the color still color doesn't work with momentum spring. But I guess we could keep it that way if we want to. But
yeah,
we could simply just have an enum that says, like, you know, what color spring you want, like red, blue, or yellow, because I know blue springs are a thing as well.
We could do that. I still, like, in terms of gameplay, like if I were designing a fan game, I would prefer the momentum springs to be clearly defined, but
Yeah,
that can be up to everyone else.
I would prefer that too, and just in a gameplay design aspect, that makes the most sense, and I agree with you. But like, some people might not want it that way, or some people might want to change it to where the blue springs are momentum springs, and yellow springs are pre-calculated springs, or whatever. So we might change it so that people can, like, the color is not defined by the type. You can, in your own way, define the color and the springs in your own fan game.
Fine, I guess I'll be considerate.
But
doesn't mean he's got to enjoy it.
So we have the new pre-calculated type. Let me just put this back to basic. In the new pre-calculated type, let's go over some of the tools here. We can press this button called Draw Debug, and it will draw a debug arc that the character will take whenever they overlap with this spring. By the way, this does not show up if you set it to basic. So if I press the Draw Debug, it's not going to show up because it's not a pre-calculated spring. There's nothing to calculate because it doesn't care about anything else. But if I sit here, put it to pre-calculated. By the way, you can also adjust the debug time with a variable right here. Let's bring that down to like 3 seconds. Man, I'm having a bad day so far. How about you? I am really fucking tired. So I'm having a day, but I'm sorry to hear you're having a bad day, Azurio. But as I was saying, now the debug lines won't show up for as long because I've changed it to 3 seconds. With this system, we can pre-calculate how and where the spring will launch you using this destination vector. So as you can see, whenever I draw the debug, the thing gets changed. I did not want that. Here we go. So if I bring it over here and draw the debug, the arc changes to represent the calculations or the arc that it would need to launch you to send you to that location. The amount of time that it draws the amount of like green dots in the debug line here dictates your input delay. So as you can see, if I drag it all the way over here, it doesn't draw all the way to its location. If I increase the input delay to, like, let's say 3, the draw goes further, and let's upgrade that to 4. Draw again. Now it surpasses it. And that blue dot there will dictate whenever the player will regain control from the spring's arc.
And one thing to also keep in mind is that you not only have your inputs turned off, but your gravity and your air control and friction are also changed because they're effectively set to very default values so that the pre-calculation actually works properly. Yeah. So if you may notice your character is slower and has lower gravity when you enter these frames.
Yeah, I was actually about to go over that because the next thing I was going to go over was the spring arc. You can actually modify the type of arc that the spring will launch you at. So let's say I made this a 0.8. You can see that its arc is much sharper now. It's much less of a curve and more of a line. Made this 0.9 and then redraw it. You can see it's pretty straightforward. And this will also dictate the speed in which you get launched. So like the sharper the arc, the faster you get launched from it, because it's trying to launch you further away because it's expecting a different arc. So it's probably going to launch me super fucking far. But if I were to test it like this here. Boing. Okay, yeah. It's not super fast, but it's faster than the normal speed because I adjusted the arc.
Yep.
My day turned up. I got my controller to connect to your PC.
Oh.
See, that's cool, I think. This arc variable can be adjusted to be really strong, like so. Like if I want to give it a really long arc for whatever reason. 3. Come on. 0.3. Yes, infinite bounce pads troll level incoming. Yep, you could do that if you wanted to. You can technically lock the player in an infinite loop of springs if you're mean like that. A bit uncreative, but you know, I'm not going to judge.
A bit uncreative, eh?
It's like if you want to be mean, there's an art. There's whole etiquette to being mean.
There's a whole slew of etiquette to trolling. But yeah. The other thing that you don't want to do, obviously, we set it so that you cannot set the spring arc to 0. You can only set it to 0.01, and you can't set the arc to 1. You can only set it to 0.99 because setting it to 0 or 1 will heck you up. It will launch you into the stratosphere. Technically, setting it to 0.01 and 0.99 is also still really not good, like as you can see.
Yeah, but at least it's like not going to break the game.
Yeah, it'll launch you really far, but it's not gonna like actually break the game. During testing, I was testing this with Tails, and I launched him out of the skybox, and whenever you do that to a character, the character gets deleted, and all references to the character get deleted, and the game basically breaks. So putting it directly to 0 or putting it directly to 1 will literally break the game because it will launch you at such a arc and velocity that you get shot out of the game, literally. So barely touch a spring, gets yeeted into space. yeah, we have done things to help prevent that. So if I made this arc back to like 4 or whatever, and then draw debug. All right, so like right here is where I will be able to regain control at that launch destination. So, boing. There we go. And like Emmanuel was saying before, the reason that we have to do this is because the spring expects, or not the spring, the launch calculations that the spring goes through expects the character to have a specific type of physics. And if I open this up, if the spring gravity is a variable that gets passed into these calculations, it has to be set to 0, because being set to 0 will default the arc to the default world gravity, which is 1. Which is weird, because if you set it to 1, it doesn't use world gravity, it uses gravity of 1, which is really not great.
It hacks it up for some reason.
Yeah, setting this to like anything other than 0 breaks it really badly. Even if I set it to be the equivalent of the character's gravity, which is 3, it seems to break things. I don't really know why, so just to work around it, the character's gravity and friction gets set to that of the world's gravity, just to make it more simplistic and to keep it from breaking in half.
Yeah, if we find a way around it, especially the gravity one, we'll obviously update this and other technologies that use it. But for now, things using this technology have to be set to default gravity, which is kind of poo-poo, you know.
Just a little bit. If you want, one thing you can do is, where are we going? Ah, yes. You can plug this into, I think, what is it? I think you can just plug this in.
Yeah, I think it's that one.
Okay. So if you want this to like not be relied on this draw debug, if you don't want to constantly hit that, you can actually just plug this into the construction script. You open the construction script and you plug this set function by name variable. You plug that in and it will play in real time inside of the editor. You're going to want to drop the debug time down to 0.01 though.
445 -600.
Like so.
Yeah.
But keep in mind this will probably lag your PC out, because this is something that's being played every tick in the editor and it doesn't like it. So you can do it.
It causes a memory leak eventually.
Yeah, you can do it, just don't. I highly suggest you just don't.
Could probably just give it like a boolean that turns that off and on at some point.
We probably could, but we'll see about that. All of this is also applied to the dash ramps as well as the dash rings. So the dash ramps and the dash rings have the same like vector launch code. So if I hit the regular dash ramp, I don't quite get up there, but I can obviously adjust the launch velocity, so I could. But if I did this, all I have to do is set the exact location I want the character to go to, as well as the arc, and I will automatically.
Yeah, and once again, this is optional. You could just use the regular code.
So this one here, that one's using the regular code. One easy way to tell whether or not one of these launch objects are using the regular code, or like the simple velocity code or the pre-calculated code, is this red arrow that gets drawn from them. Like the springs, the launch pads, and the dash rings, they all have these arrows pointing out from them. And if that arrow is on there, that means that it's the basic type. So if I plug in this or if I turn on this pre-calculated boolean, it doesn't, it disappears. The launch pads, the dash ramps and the dash rings don't use an enum. They use a simple boolean, because they don't have 3 different types. There's only 2 types versus the springs, which have 3 different types. They have basic springs, momentum springs, and pre-calculated springs, versus these here just have basic dash ramp, pre-calculated dash ramp, and basic dash ring and pre-calculated dash ring. So we don't have an enum controlling them. It's just a simple variable, or a simple boolean. So we could probably change it to be an enum. It honestly wouldn't be that big of a deal. I could just add the same enum that the springs use to it, but we'll worry about it later. But that is the new pre-calculated spring system. This is something I actually wanted to put in a long time ago, but I couldn't really figure out how to do so. But after figuring it out and figuring a way to actually get it to work the way I wanted to, I'm like, fuck yeah. And now it works really, really nicely because it makes sequencing springs super easy. So if I want to like sequence how the springs play out, I would just have to do that.
I know there are some level designers who have used our framework who are probably jealous at this point because they probably could have really used this.
Yeah.
Well, it's here now. Well, not now, but when we release this in 2 years, obviously.
So let's see, draw debug. So yeah, you can see the order in which you get launched out because with the pre-calculated system. It's very nice. Super straightforward. Pretty neat to use. I can't wait to see what people make with these because I can see people making some pretty cool shit with this stuff. The one problem with them so far, and we've kind of fixed this, but not really, is they don't really like to work whenever you rotate the actor certain ways. Like if I rotate this dash ramp along the z-axis, it's fine because it takes the z-axis and is like, oh, I need to change this vector depending on the rotation. But it doesn't really like to do that if I change it like on the y-axis, for example. It doesn't always like to do it. It's very picky about how it works with the rotation. It's most prevalent with the dash rings. Like if I went in and I plugged in the draw debug function here, and then I sit here and try to rotate this, it's not gonna like it. Come on. Unless it does like it, and at that one time that I tested it, it hated me, and it's just like
maybe it just doesn't like it if you try to if you actually go on it.
I don't know. It didn't like it the first time I tested it. I'm like, all right, well, I'll come back to this later, but it seems to be working fine now. I don't know. I'll be keeping an eye on it. I'll see. I'll do some more testing with it later, but I'm not going to do it right now. But yeah, that's the new pre-calculated spring system, which I really, really like this. I was super excited to figure out how to get this to function. I'm gonna.
Yeah, automation.
I did not want to open that. Yeah. Where is there's tell us. The reason I figured all of this out is because to move on to the next subject. I don't know why I'm saving. I don't really need to save all this. I'm not pushing any of these. Because I have been working on Tellus. Tellus's combat has begun to
take flight.
Yep, take flight. It's so
funny. What we added is that now Tails has a screen nuke. You press it by you activate it by closing the game.
So one thing that speed characters have that other character types don't is, well, they have a lot of things for one, but one thing that they have that others don't really have an equivalent for is the drift. So what we did is we took the drift button and we decided to reuse it for the other classes. For Knuckles in the power parent, you can use that to charge up special attacks, which we will actually be getting back to. But for the flight characters, what we have done is we have allowed you to throw bombs with them.
Damn.
So while you're holding the drift button, Tails, or any flight character really, will begin to calculate a projectile trajectory. And with the shoulder buttons, like at left shoulder, right shoulder, or on keyboard mouse, it's Q and E, you can actually adjust the arc manually. That way you have more control with how you want to throw it. And the arc itself also takes into account your velocity. So if I start to run, the arc actually expands based on the velocity that I am running. Therefore, if I run and I throw a bomb or an object or whatever, it actually will get thrown further because I'm running, as well as get launched faster because I'm running.
Yep.
Put a Minecraft TNT texture on the bomb block. Ooh.
We could maybe we'll get to it later.
While you're charging up a throw, your top speed and your acceleration is reduced. Like if I stop throwing, you'll see that Tails' top speed actually increases, and like his acceleration is overall faster. However, if I start charging up a throw, his acceleration is lowered and his top speed overall is lowered. That way you can be a little bit more precise without having to worry about like accidentally zooming past shit while you're running to throw your bombs or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know you did that. That's pretty good.
So currently right now we've got more planned, but currently right now Tails can throw 2 bombs. He can throw cube bombs, which stick to surfaces that it hits. So if I threw this and it collides with an enemy, it doesn't actually stick to the enemy, it simply just stays in place. So if I were to walk over and alert those enemies, and those enemies were to walk around, the bombs would not actually stay. But Tails can also throw spherical bombs that roll. These do not stick.
And have a set timer.
Yep. So the other main difference between the sticky bombs and the rolling bombs is the sticky bombs can be detonated manually. So they do have a detonation timer that will detonate them after a set period of time, but it's actually really long. I think I set it to like 30 seconds, like 30 to 45 seconds or something. But these sticky bombs can be thrown out relatively quickly. Boop, boop. And tactically. Boop. And then if I hit the F key while I am not charging up a throw, or the Y button, I will manually detonate the bombs. However, the rolling bomb does not get manually detonated. It gets detonated on a timer. I think it's pretty short. I think it's set to 5 to 8 seconds. But the big difference between the rolling bomb and the sticky bomb is the fact that the rolling bomb, 1, does more damage than the sticky bomb does, and 2, it has a wider blast radius. So, while if I were to throw a sticky bomb like right here, I'll probably hit all 4 enemies. Nope, I didn't hit all 4 enemies. But if I threw a... let's reposition here a little bit. If I threw a rolling bomb, assuming it actually hits there before tonight. Yep. It has a much wider explosive radius. And
perfectly timed too.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is going to probably be altered and changed.
Yeah, this is heavy WIP.
But that is currently the like beta builds and beta testing of the flight character combat. And all of this stuff can be done while flying too. So it's a little bit harder to do while flying. I would imagine it's actually probably easier to do on controller than it is on keyboard mouse. But
yeah, and we could probably, we could alter things to make it easier and stuff like that.
So that's currently Tails' combat at the moment. Oh, excuse me. But it is interesting because with the setup like this and the current like layout of bombs that I have set up as like beta default stuff, it's interesting because you can pre-set up situations in combat using these bombs and then initiate combat however you want. It takes a little bit more setup time, but you can get like a lot of damage outputted at a relatively quick pace. The speed is pretty slow right now. It actually used to be way slower, and I've sped it up, and I'm going to probably speed it up a little bit more. But the goal is to make this bomb-throwing tactical playstyle a little bit quicker. It's probably going to be the slowest of the three playstyles, being the speed, the power, and the flight combat styles. The flight is going to be the slowest, but it's also going to have probably, I don't want to say the most technicality to it, but it is going to have a level of technicality where you got to like think, how do I, make the most of this combat situation as the character that I am. So rather than speed characters where your job is to dance around enemies, and power characters where your job is to basically burst through enemies, your job as a flight character is to think around the enemies, is what we were mainly planning on going for. And with a projectile calculation system like this, we can set up and play test a multitude of different types of bombs and projectiles that Tails can throw. We have considered the idea of a tether projectile that once you throw it, it tethers an enemy to it, or a decoy dummy projectile that when you throw, all the enemies will be attracted to it, so that way
also like balloon projectiles that, like, when they grab enemies, they make them float upwards, and maybe when you drop them, enemies take damage when they fall down. Also, you can also do the standard things like just dropping bombs straight down, like a B-2 bomber, or missiles, or any combination of the three. Just really like anything that involves domestic terrorism in Tails' case.
Essentially.
Tails
It's
is
a minigun, Sonic.
Yeah. We've got a whole lot of different ideas with Tails. He's still pretty early on in his development. I've almost exclusively been working on him at the moment because I've been prototyping a bunch of this stuff. But once we get power characters done, I believe Emmanuel's going to join in on Tails with me, and hopefully we can just like burst through flight characters relatively quickly, because Emmanuel's almost been exclusively working on combat by himself, while I have been working on things like wisps and a little bit of silver, as well as other object stuff.
And a lot of restructuring.
Yeah, a lot of the restructure work. But now that I'm done with a good chunk of the wisps, I've done a lot of like object interaction code. All of the restructuring is not done. There's still work to be done, actually. But I'm actually getting closer to finishing with it. But I'm to a point where I can start working on Tails, so I can actually help assisting with the combat, and hopefully we can knock Tails out relatively quickly.
Yeah, not quickly, relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Like don't
think we're not gonna like dream speed run this or anything,
Yeah, because that involves cheating.
Wow.
Burn.
So yeah, it took a little bit of setup time, but I just killed 5 enemies in one sweep.
Yeah, but I mean the difference obviously is that Knuckles can just punch through them, and Sonic can either boost through them or roll through them, or like there's different ways to go about it.
Yeah, so technically I did the same amount of damage. It just took a little bit of extra setup time and a little bit of, I wouldn't say thought, because all I did was throw stuff at it, but depending on the thought really comes from the situation that you put the player in. So the individual levels and how they're set up is what really needs to provoke the, technical side of, how flight characters approach combat. How you design your levels will really help with that.
Yeah, and we'll probably, when we're done talking about everything, we'll probably talk about the ideas we have with Tails and other characters and stuff too, and have like a Q&A session, sort of. Not sort of, actually a Q&A session. But yeah.
Give Tails an Ender Pearl? Probably not.
No, he's onto something. Tails is just Minecraft speed. He will probably, like, if this was a fighting game, he would be the setup character. Yeah. It'd be annoying as fucking shit. Did you get fucking sniped?
I did. I got sniped.
Yeah. We still want to add in the ability for Tails to just swipe projectiles out of the air. We just haven't gotten around to that. Give Tails the mech. Don't encourage me. I'm already on probation.
That's not how you spell mech, but... No, we're not giving Tails a mech.
Yeah, we're not giving Tails a mech. I'm legally obligated to say we're not giving Tails a mech.
Ah! Did you fucking see that? What the fuck?
Well, that makes sense. He shot it, it detected it, and...
Yeah, technically.
It'll be kind of... I can probably show you how to make them actually stick to actors. Cause it'll be funny if like it stuck to the bullet and flew towards you.
Bop.
Poop.
Bop. There we go. See, I hacked that enemy. It took a little bit of work, but I hacked them.
Yeah, we'll obviously work on making it way, more intuitive, faster, stronger, better, Daft Punk.
What I could do, this is actually just a thought that came to me. If the in trace of the projectile overlaps with a homing target, it could autocorrect itself so that it tries to throw directly onto a target.
Maybe. I think the problem right now is that it's just a bit finicky, and I really want to look into the projectile code again. So I want to see if there's a way to override the gravity so that the bombs fall much faster.
Give Shadow his mech instead.
And break every single bone in his body for 5,000 years.
Well, that's stupid. I'll have to play around with this idea. Actually, I wanna test this idea of like the projectile locking onto targets.
Yeah,
I think I know how I can do it too.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to say like what he's doing is bad or anything, but this is still early prototyping, as you can tell by the lack of like box textures. So we're still thinking through it, obviously.
Tails looks really yellow rather than a bit orange. Is this what y'all wanted? He is a bit yellow. We're aware he's a bit yellow.
The lighting of the level.
Yeah, primarily it's the lighting, but I do think we should take a look into his materials.
I've been saying this, but whatever.
Could you shut? I know you've said it several times, but guess what? It is not priority.
I know it's not priority. You know what the priority is? Combat and Wiz. I've been doing priority.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the stamina bar where it like is attached to Tails' forward vector for some reason. It's
I know. If some weird reason it shouldn't be doing what it's doing, but something's changed at some point and it's decided to yuck up.
It may be camera related, but I don't know.
Yeah, it could be camera related. So yeah, that's...
I know it's not priority.
That is Tails for the most part. We don't have a whole lot to show off. I was kind of excited about it because I was able to I basically prototyped this all on my own. What the fuck are you looking at, bitch?
I don't know why they do that. Obviously when we do the new thing.
I figured that could just wanted to ask, not trying to...
No, it's fine. It's mostly me.
No, it's just we're being arsy with each other.
We heckle Reese over it.
Yeah.
Could you leave me alone?
No.
I'll probably just do it myself at some point. Just make him fucking brown.
No, God, no. It's one thing if we want to make him a little more orange, but if you make him brown, I will actually fire you.
Okay. You press T and he turns brown.
T for Tails.
What happens if you do press T? Oh, his feet disappear. That's what I thought would happen.
Yeah.
None of the other characters are programmed to have Tims.
You don't have drip.
Nope.
Which is Fizz's favorite meme.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Just a slight thing I'm annoyed with in Minecraft, but it doesn't matter.
I remember in the Discord, someone was going to show how to make a Uncharted-like game cutscene, but I don't know if he's done it yet. I think I remember some of you talking about that, but I wasn't paying too much attention.
Tails can use the whiffs. All characters can.
Yeah, all characters can use a wisp.
Yep, every character can use a wisp.
The models don't change for the wisp. That's probably something we probably won't add in because that requires modeling. We do need to talk to that modeler guy we kind of brought on. We haven't talked to him since, well, technically all year.
Yeah. Still looking forward to it. Yeah. One other quick thing. I don't remember if I mentioned this in the last live stream. I might have, but
I don't think you did.
The cyan laser pylons are kind of in development at the moment. They do technically function as we want them to right now. In terms of their core functionality, there's nothing wrong with them. They do work as we want them to. Laser! I do get teleported to the other end of them. And I've even set it up so that they're two-way. As you probably noticed up here, this one doesn't glow or spin or anything. But the other one does glow and spin right here, the one it's connected to, and these two are clearly connected together. But both of them glowed and spin, but that's because this has been set up to have a two-way system. So whenever I click on it, I can say, is two-way, and if I turn that off, the output gets turned off, so that way only one of them can be entered from. If it is set to a two-way, there is a cooldown in which you have to wait until that cooldown is up before you can re-enter it. I don't believe that cooldown exists if it's just a one-way, because it doesn't really matter. But the main problem with this currently right now is the material. Getting the material to work across the spline has been a challenge. But as you can see, if you follow the white line, this node is connected to the other node, like so. It's just there is no proper material running across it because it's been kind of a bitch to get working.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it, and I think one way to do it that's kind of a hack is maybe, since you're using a spline, just teleport the wisp to the locations on the spline, like insert them along it, and just have wisp spawn a really long ribbon. Because if you spawn a ribbon, it will effectively be the same to the player when you look at it.
Maybe.
Oh dear.
Well, that's still one. I mean, it would technically work. It would be a terrible, terrible band-aid, but it would technically be a band-aid. And it would probably also be very disorienting. But we have yet to get that. That's supposed to have its own camera system to it. Like, we're supposed to attach like a camera component to it that you can activate, so that way it interprets to the new camera position, so you can watch it do whatever the fuck it's doing.
Yeah, and if you use a dynamic camera, then that dynamic camera will just look at where the wisp is, which is along the spline.
Yeah, but the dynamic camera doesn't like to work right now with the wisps, remember?
Damn it! Yeah, you're right.
That, and technically the wisp doesn't exist inside of it. Because it's, the wisps only exist on either the end point or the beginning point,
Yeah, you would have to change that. Oh, Tails2X, what does the Japanese mean on HUD? Honestly, I don't know. That's something
I believe the Japanese text on the HUD is just the same thing. So rings, and then that's the kanji for rings, time is the kanji for time, score, that's the kanji for score. And if I was playing Sonic, the boost bar has actually the same thing. I could be wrong about that. I believe that's what it is. I think Noto might actually know. But
yeah.
I may be incorrect in that assumption.
If we ever wanted to revamp this the quote-unquote vanilla theme and add it to other areas like the menus, we could probably use this help for recreating the style and adding kanji.
We can also get a hold of Kindred. Oh, Kindred would know. He's the one that actually made the HUD.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you think we could ask him to help with creating the main menu theme? That's Sorry, I forgot.
The problem with asking other people, if they can do something, is they don't get back to us for 10 years.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is fair. People don't have to get back to us.
Right now it's fair because, the world circumstances and stuff.
That too.
How's Cube Wisp been doing? I've not touched Cube Wisp, and I probably won't touch Cube Wisp for a little while. I will go back to him now. That is a Wisp that I will be heavily going back to once I get around to...
I've drawn up some concepts for things we can do for it.
We gotta get it functioning first. But...
Well, yeah, but I've drawn up some cool concepts we can work on to make Blue Cube a bit more versatile than just, toggling blue boxes.
Yeah.
Overall, this is amazing, and Sonic's combat looks awesome more than just homing attack. That's pretty That's nice to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
She is.
We'll be talking about Sonic's homing attack here in a bit, but before we do that, we got a certain Canuck to talk about first.
You could probably show off the new wall ability he has while climbing.
Oh yeah, I showed this to Bane. He really liked it. So as you know, as we showed off in the last dev stream, you can dig like so, and you can also dig along the wall. It's technically a slightly faster version of climbing.
Yeah, we're gonna add a timer to it eventually, probably a breath counter, because maybe Knuckles just chokes on dirt when he's in there.
Yeah, has to breathe, can't be underground for too long. But the other form of movement is a wall dash.
Yeah. The camera's not 100% done with it, but the mechanics of it are mostly finalized.
So, as you charge up a wall dash, you start to fall a little bit faster, and then you can launch yourself upward with it. I think we need to increase its strength just a little bit, but and probably
maybe
after, like, if you're rolling on a wall when you uncurl, maybe you can't like run on the wall, because at that point in time, like, why even?
Well, if you try running up the wall normally, you don't you accelerate deep. I need to nerf the walls or buff them technically and make them
nerf the wall.
Nerf the wall.
Nerf the walls.
Like,
yeah, so that like you get pulled down way more aggressively when you're running on them. Yeah. That way the boost is more effective, and also you can't just
the camera is
you can
hecked with it a little bit too. We also looking at that.
Oh, the camera should. Are you talking about when you're running on it or when you jump from it?
Like whenever you leap from it. Like on occasion, I notice like after I land, it just kind of spazzes out and like sets to a default position for some reason. It only happens on occasion though.
I thought I fixed that, but okay.
Oh, yep. See, you just did it right there.
Okay, I think I know what's going on there. I could easily fix that.
Alright, Knuckles died from choking on dirt. So what do y'all think about the Sonic Rift rumors that's been floating around the internet lately? I don't know a single one of them, and I also don't care. I don't pay attention to any of the leaks, because they all have about as much credibility as a breadcrumb, which is like not actual bread. It's just something that you feed someone to make it feel like they're eating, even though they're not.
I hope they're not true, personally, for what I've read.
I've not read them, and I don't want to read them because I don't want to fill my head with dumbass ideas. So, and if that's your reaction to them, then I really don't know if I want to read them. But if I had to guess, they're probably not true. But I also haven't read them, so I can't say definitively. So.
Sonic Mini Engine plus X Momentum Engine?
We do interact with Bane a lot, and Bane is actually a fan of Infinity Plus, and we're all a fan of the Momentum Engine, so.
He's a pretty cool dude, too.
Yeah, Bane's a really cool dude. We talked to him on occasion.
Yep.
Now you're not really in the Sonic Rift leaks, and boost, that would be weird. I mean, we have a drop dash and a boost, but whatever. Alright, anyway, back to Knuckles. We shut off his little wall dash here, which is pretty neat. We'll probably buff it a little bit, but that's from Sonic Advance 3, and I think that'll help like Knuckles' wall climbing abilities quite a bit, even outside of digging.
No, that's the one thing why people are going on about Rift. Sorry, I just saw what Michael typed.
Let's see here.
You can show off the improved lock on, sort of.
Yeah, we could do that. Michael, I'm kind of moving on from Sonic Rift. I don't care. I don't sound
Sorry,
rude.
mate.
I don't want to sound rude, but I really just don't care. I'm too tired to care today. We had shown this off in the past, but we have since altered it. Emmanuel has since altered it, and it's a little bit nicer now. But whenever Knuckles attacks or does a melee attack, it actually scans for targets and will pull Knuckles towards that target. But has been like buffed quite a bit actually. It's been buffed, and two, it's been altered so that each attack in the combo has its own unique parameters you can set. So like, this enemy right here is pretty decently far, but if I attack, it's not going to like pull me towards it. But if I attack and do an uppercut, it's going to start pulling me towards it.
Yeah, I may buff that a bit more.
Because the uppercut has a longer scoped range than the basic attack. As you saw there, like after I did my first attack, I wasn't locked on, but my second attack was locked on. Same thing right there. My second attack was locked onto that enemy. So it's a little bit sharper now. So it should make attacking enemies like in a frenzy a little bit easier, as it'll try to forcefully make the attack connect if you're close enough to the enemy, depending on the type of attack you're doing.
Yeah, and it can be expanded upon. This is added to the power parent, by the way, so different power characters can use it. To just briefly go into specifics, when you do basic punches and uppercuts, it's actually just setting Knuckles' velocity to the enemy, so he kind of just rockets towards them, but there's a different type that acts more like a homing attack that can be added, and I actually have an idea for a move that can use that. But the overall effect is that Knuckles kind of seamlessly, kind of like in Arkham, the Arkham games, the Batman Arkham games, he kind of smoothly interps towards them, but he doesn't lose his momentum really, which is, you know, a win-win.
Are you immune to all enemies underground? Because that's pretty powerful. You are, actually, but that's why we're going to be adding a O2 meter to being underground, so you can't sit there and stay indefinitely.
Yeah, and I may also make it so that, like, either, you know, objects like the spikes, for instance, can still harm you maybe, because the idea is that maybe they're underground too. And also maybe, like, for instance, like, if the enemy has, like, an electric field around them, that will also damage you because you're not that far away from them, in theory. But we'll play around with it. Right now, power characters are actually pretty powerful already because they don't take touch damage, so we don't want to give them too many buffs.
Yeah. So the underground digging, while it's in a pretty good state right now, we need to balance it still, so that, like, you will want to still play as other characters while in combat, because power characters have a lot of benefits currently in combat, which is ideal, what we want, but we also want to make sure, like, you only want to play power characters in combat.
And yeah, it's pretty satisfying so far. We're probably going to replace the aura move also, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah,
For
so
now, though,
this move right here, we're probably going to remove this, and I think we were thinking of altering that one too, like the whip punch. I'm pretty sure he was planning on altering it, but
yeah, I was thinking about maybe doing a drill attack that also, maybe like when you do it, if there's an enemy in front of you, will just continuously keep doing it if you hold down the button, and you can get faster and faster from it. But yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much.
You've also been inadvertently activated stealth gameplay for Knuckles. Yeah, that could be a stealth system. Although what we could do is, because I don't know if it's functioning currently, but enemies do have a sound tracking system where they can be alerted to sounds. So, like, digging could also be loud, meaning they would be alerted to the fact that you're around. Maybe they don't know you're where you are, but they know that you're there.
Yeah, that's something we could also look into also, is like the enemy AI is being reworked currently, so there's a lot of parameters to play with.
I like how that egg hammer is just staring at us from the corner.
He's easy. Those are the new enemy AIs, and they're so hyper advanced and intelligent that they'd be put in a playpen, because if they run amok, they will kill you instantly.
Oh yeah, totally, that's the reason why.
Have you thought about a stomp attack to help pull him out of the ground for special enemy type? Sorry if this has been brought up before. I'm a little behind. Actually, no, that's not been thought of. Or not thought of, but it's not been brought to our attention. That is an idea. I do think that we need to come up with some ideas for enemies to counter Knuckles' digging move, and a stomp attack could definitely be helpful. Any, like, AoE ground type moves could disrupt digging in powered characters. So, that is an interesting idea. We'll probably play with that way later on, but we'll have to keep that one in mind. Rapid bonk. The closer Big's footsteps become, the more terrified the enemies become. Yep.
Thank you, Samuel Hayden. Todd Howard's Radiant AI bad mix. It just works.
Yeah, it just works. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Well, okay then. I'm sorry, I'm having a really bad time right now. That's why I'm so quiet.
Sure, yeah.
It's okay. We'll keep doing the stream. You keep Minecraft.
This is still early. Will there be custom bosses? No. You will have to make your own bosses. Like, I've said this a multitude of times. We're not going to make bosses for you. I am designing a boss. One boss to show off the features of combat, as well as the features of the, you know, boss system and how it interacts with the levels and such. But you will have to design your own bosses. We're not going to have, you know, Lego bosses where you just piece parts together or whatever. You'll have to build them yourself. We will have a base boss blueprint that you can build off of and use and like make children bosses out of, so that way you don't have to worry about, like, you know, setting up the damage code or setting up the amount of health or systems or like how defeating the boss interacts with the level. There's certain things that we'll pre-set up for you, but as for the actual individual bosses, we're not going to be making them. I have one preset boss in mind that I would actually like to design, but it's not really a priority at the moment.
Yeah. You want to test out the feature that you actually, this will be new to you. You've seen it, but you haven't used it yet.
Yeah. Just scale it back up 10 times, give it an unreasonable amount of health, and let the royalty-free background music do the rest and make it fun. Hey, we can't be making a Mario game here. What do you think this is?
Yeah, come on, man.
King Babam, King Boo, King Goomba. What do you think this is, Mario?
Oh my god, that was so
Just drilling enemies from Sonic Colors. That wouldn't be too hard because you on a 3D plane, all you would do is just make them just spawn that particle effect Knuckles does, and they hit you. Obviously. Yeah. I am liking these ideas, though, but we should move on.
Like I said, we do have to balance it with the idea in mind that the digging is going to have an O2 meter attached to it, meaning you can't stick underground indefinitely, and perhaps we'll set a slower O2 refill timer to it. Like if I start drowning here and then I get out of water, the O2 meter almost instantly fills back up. We might change it so that way it fills up a lot slower whenever you're digging. That way you can't just infinitely pop in and out. But we'll balance and test it once we get that system in, which shouldn't be too difficult to put in, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, I just haven't gotten around to it because it's not as flashy and fun, honestly. That's the main reason.
Where's the Master Emerald? You'll never know where it's at. I never thought about it.
You'll never know my main.
Scale boys and call them bosses. Yeah, that's the thing Nintendo does. I don't get it. There's also PD Piranha. That's a scaled up boss. Anyway, to move on with Knuckles, a neat little feature that we've got here. As I mentioned earlier, with the drift button and speed, flight, power characters, speed characters are able to drift, obviously. So their drift isn't really orientated for combat. For flight characters, we have the projectile trajectory charge, and for power characters, we simply have a special charge, which the special charge isn't new. We've shown this off before, but we have altered it. So whenever you hold the button, Knuckles will go into a charging state. And this, like, if you've kept up with us, you'll know that this is immediately different. Ooh, I like that sound effect.
Yeah, it's actually the ping sound effect from Sonic Adventure 2 when you're doing treasure hunting, just pitched up.
Yeah. So whenever you're charging up as a power character, you're able to strafe around and move. It's a lot slower because you're in the middle of charging up a powerful attack. So being able to move infinitely fast would be probably a little overpowered. So your acceleration and your top speed is lowered, which is actually a lot better than what it used to be, by the way. I think this is actually good speed. If you're moving at high speed and you charge, you'll still slide like you used to before. Just once you move below a certain speed, Knuckles will regain control. Like if I'm running and I start charging and I press like left and right, Knuckles will do a little dance, but I can't actually move left and right until I go into this stance right here.
Nice dance, by the way. Love the moves.
He's got a nice move. He's got a schmoove game.
Oh yeah.
Having the meter would definitely fix it. Yeah, having the meter would help it. King Moto bug. Master Emeralds in
Oh
Big's
no.
collection totally undetectable by Knuckles' radar power. Yep, Big has taken off with it. He thought it was Froggy. Knuckles has a
He ate it.
guard dog that Tails made to keep the Master Emerald safe. We like to think
I
that
swear.
when Knuckles goes out, he actually hires the Chaotix to keep the Emerald safe. That's what we let. That's our head canon.
I swear to God, that's the second time I heard the idea about the dog guard. Guard
Guard dog.
Like someone else has said that. I think maybe someone in Brave Scratch comes. I don't know.
Knuckles has a gun. Oh no.
Oh yeah, we didn't explain the reticle. Knuckles has a gun.
Yeah. So the nice thing about this reticle, you'll probably notice when I charge it, it goes from a gray to a white, and that's because if I charge and I look at an enemy, nothing happens. But once it turns white, and I look at an enemy, I can lock onto that enemy. So if I lock onto that enemy and if I look away, I will still charge and hit that enemy. Oof, that anti-lag.
Yeah, that's because we'll go into that later.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for that.
But now you can lock onto enemies, so that way you can essentially reassure that you're actually going to hit the enemy. So if I'm like running around and doing whatever, and I want to make sure I hit an enemy with this charge, I can charge it all the way up and lock onto them.
Yeah, you can't lock onto aerial enemies though, at least for now.
No, you cannot lock onto aerial enemies. We don't really have a whole lot planned for aerial combat, but that's way down the road. But one thing you probably noticed is while I've been charging, Knuckles like plays little particles. So that's a particle, and whenever I press it, Knuckles doesn't get launched quite as far. That's the second particle. When I press it, he gets launched a little bit further, but whenever I fully charge it, he gets launched just a tad bit further than that. But the nice thing about this fully charged system is for every charge you add, like every particle that plays, so every tick to the charge that you add, you can actually execute an extra charge move. So I have a full 3-part charge here, so I can do 3 piercing punch moves in a row. We're going to be adding more charge moves, so this will actually be a little bit more dynamic. We already have a couple in mind that we want to do. But if I charge up an attack here, and I hit an enemy, I can go ahead and hit another enemy, like so. Like doing 3 piercing punches in a row because I did a full, a fully charged piercing punch attack.
Yeah, and we'll go into it later, but yeah, you can charge it up, hit different moves. If you've noticed, Knuckles has more lag in the move than before, and that's just so you can target different enemies and have more time for it, which we could probably play around with.
So yeah, the charge has been altered a little bit to make it a little bit more mechanically demanding, but it also adds a lot more combo play to it, because once we add, I think we have we're wanting to add 2 more charge moves to it. We know we have a ground slam, but we have a third move that we haven't really decided upon yet. But once we get these moves implemented, you'll be able to cycle through them or alternate through them, or basically like mix and match which types of moves you want to do in the middle of a charge attack. So let's say I want to start off with a piercing punch, and then I could turn around and do a ground slam, followed by another piercing punch. Or I could start with a ground slam, a piercing punch, and then a third move. Or I could do a piercing punch, a ground slam, and then another piercing punch, so.
Yeah, and this wasn't the original idea, but I presented this idea I think yesterday to Reese, or I presented this idea before, but I kind of reiterated on it because for those who are fighting game nerds, the term for those kind of moves is called a Rekka type move, and essentially it's a move you can mix and match with. I think the move is named after a Street Fighter character named Rekka, actually, who has those types of moves. Yamcha in Dragon Ball FighterZ is also a good example of it. But yeah, as Fizz said, you can mix and match different types of moves, and it allows you to have, it allows you to express yourself more with the moves, so you can mix and match them. Later down the line, we may also make it so that if you end with a certain type of move, it has a special effect, or it's like a combo finisher, maybe. So like one idea is that if you got hacked.
I did.
One idea maybe is that if you the combo finisher for piercing punch could be like a really big uppercut maybe, or like a combo finisher for the slam move is that the last move will like send a shockwave towards a targeted enemy. Just all types of ideas you can do with that. But the basics right now is what you see before you.
Yeah, if you press the jump button, doesn't it cancel out of it?
No, not anymore.
Oh, we probably should have. We probably need some way to cancel out of it, so that way you can, if you don't want to do a full 3 combo, you can cancel out of it at any time. You don't have to worry about the end lag. Because the end lag is there simply so you can follow it up with something else.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Right now it's just deactivated, but I could probably add it in really easily.
Will there be an update to the wall jump animation as it is slow and broken? The mechanic itself is fine. The mechanic itself was not fine. The mechanic itself was actually kind of broken during the Christmas update that we released. But, ironically, since you just mentioned it, I did actually look at this. That was one of the other things we did. I completely forgot. It's not really a big deal, but we can show it off real quick. But the wall jump does function a lot better now.
Yeah, we could probably make the animation where he grabs onto the wall a bit faster, but yeah.
Yeah, the animation's still a little miffed, but the animations do work a little bit better.
Yeah, we retargeted it back to the speed parent cut before it's a master character, and that broke everything. Also, we buffed the low speed wall jump.
Yeah, that's mainly what needed to happen, was the low speed wall jump seriously needed to be buffed. The mechanic itself was technically working fine. I think there was one small issue with it, if I remember right, but the problem was the variables were not set up ideally, so now it's a lot easier to do basic back and forth wall jumping in 3D. And it is still possible to do, like, running wall jumps. Like so.
Yeah, that hasn't changed.
So if I, like, boost it into a wall and I slid off of it, I could still do something like that right there. So high-speed wall jumps are... I think I nerfed them a little bit. You don't get as much horizontal movement out of them. But... the slow-paced, the slower-moving wall jumps are a lot better now.
Yeah, and this has been asked multiple times about Sonic doing parkour. We still do not have any current plans of augmenting his parkour moves any further, but one thing we may consider is changing his animations more, so that if you do a high-speed wall slide, he will actually like move his legs as if he's running on it, and you can also slide up walls if you get like vertical movement and go up them. We may change it so that if you get enough vertical movement up a wall, Sonic would do like a little wall run up them. But in terms of actual mechanics, we're probably not going to change them. Just the look of it.
I know exactly what you mean. Oh, hold on, let me catch up. So much better and snappier. Yeah, it is much better and snappier. I said this before, but the Sonic model rig, and I don't know about the other characters' rig, but I added Sonic to Blender so I can animate it, but his rigs are broken. Yeah, Sonic's rig is probably pretty broken. If I remember right, most of all the characters' rigs are broken, or with the release that we released last time, the 3 Knuckles build. One thing that Reese has been doing, as of recently, is he's been working on a whole bunch of the character rigs, like Tails, Knuckles, Shadows. Actually, I don't know if he did Shadow. Blaze, Silver. They've all been...
I've done all of them now.
Does that include Sonic?
Not your Sonic, though.
Yeah, Sonic...
One saved till last.
Sonic's the one character we've not touched yet in terms of his rigging, but all the other characters' rigging have been touched up to the point where all of their skeletal structures have been organized and color-coded. They've also been properly distributed and painted so that way you can X-mirror them. Which makes animation a lot nicer and a lot easier in most instances. So in the 3 Knuckles build, pretty much assume that all of the models are to an extent broken. However, in our Colorful Combat update, all of the rigs will be a lot better. We still have to fix Sonic. Sonic is not fixed yet, but all of the rigs other than Sonic have been fixed.
Yep.
And I don't know if we are obviously going to try and make an attempt to fix Sonic's rig, but because Sonic's rig is like the rig that we refer back to as a default for all the retargeted animations, it can be a pain.
I've left it till last. It might go bite us later when we have to retarget everything else again, but it should be like the final time of retargeting with the new animation set.
I know exactly what you mean. The bones and the armature are all pointing in the wrong direction for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I have my own fixed rig or Sonic, though I don't remember if there are any additional changes to it. I can send over to you if you'd like to check it out. We will probably check it out. I don't know if we'll end up using it, but we'll look at it.
Just don't put it in the models and animation like chat because Reese will never see it.
Oh, shush.
They don't have access to that chat. They only have access to the QA chat.
Okay, sorry, I was taking a jab at Reese, and that overrode my actual logic.
Yeah. Overrode the facts.
Yeah. Also, you can damage those enemies now. They don't really react too much, but they do kind of like know that they get hit.
You didn't say that.
They still hurt you back though. Only Knuckles can really damage them right now because
he was.
Yeah.
He doesn't take touch damage. So yeah.
Yeah.
These enemies are still in the process of being worked on. They're coming together slowly, but they are coming together. They do try and attack you. They dance around you. They follow you and track you. And they leave you alone if you leave their sight.
Yep.
They kind of just go back to doing whatever the fuck they were doing beforehand.
Vastlocks, DM it to me and Reese. I guess.
Why is it taking so long for them to lose me? Christ.
I don't know.
Probably have to reach the area that they were at or something.
Yeah, that still needs work.
Still not finished. There is like a small bug I've noticed where they will not lose sight of you, but it's very rare.
I do want to change the boost so that the damage it does scales with your speed, maybe, or with your mock state.
Yeah, because with every mock state, you can simply just update the hitbox.
Yeah, that's easy for me to do at some point. Bonk. Also, we fixed the mock state, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, the particles for the mock state have been fixed. Yeah.
And a dodge particle has also been fixed.
Oof. My stream did not like that.
Yeah, it may be because it's the first time you're doing it, maybe. Yeah, but your stream was not liking it.
The first time it happens, it does not like it.
Yeah, I hope this is like an editor-only thing, if it is the thing.
Christ. Yeah, we need to look at this real badly. The end, I think it's destroying it or something. Like, trying to destroy it for some reason, it doesn't like it.
Yeah, we should probably get that. We may have to find a different way to do those particles, honestly. Probably. Because, like, the way it was being done for, like, the Lightspeed Dash was you had to create a new model for it, but it was more efficient.
I don't think I ever connected your voice to your name. Which one server are you? The one currently talking other than me was Emmanuel. Reese is the British one.
Yes.
Wow, that's very descriptive now, isn't it?
No, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm the East Coast guy.
When we get a trail like SA2 when characters roll, we might implement a trail like that. There's still some visuals to be worked on with some of the abilities. Like the material that's being used whenever you move at high speeds. That's still being worked on.
Yeah, we did actually update it so it's a bit less... before it would actually try to... If you're right behind the material, it would try to move out of the way so you can still see it. So, yeah, but it doesn't do that anymore for now.
Because if you had a slightly low-end PC or a mid-range PC and you were looking at it in editor, the materials wouldn't load at all. So Sonic was just a pair of eyes and shoes. And really
did we ever test that, actually? To see if their fix worked?
I don't know. You have to
I think I did. Can't remember though.
Right. Yeah, I set up a different trail of rings to show off the different types of splines. Like these rings cannot be attracted, but these can. And these rings can be like speed dashed across, but the others can't. So.
Yeah, we still need to add a little particle from.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too difficult. It should just like play a particle at the point of each spline, the same point that the rings spawn in at. But,
Oh yeah.
Tells 2x BS. No, he said back. Never mind. Damn, I didn't know you felt that way.
So yeah, I can't light speed dash across these. Can these? So yeah, that's pretty much most of what all we've got to show off this time.
What about the homing attack thing I added?
What did you add with the homing attack?
Remember you charge it up all the way and it does the thing?
Oh yeah, it does do a thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was something you wanted to show the stream and see what they thought about it.
So this here is actually a feature that Emmanuel has put forth that we don't know if we're actually going to end up using. As you probably remember, if you do a charged homing attack, or like if you do a homing attack and you hold the roll button, you'll do a charge. But Emmanuel had put forth the idea that if you do a fully charged home attack, you will exit out of it with a windmill kick, like so.
Yeah, you can show the windmill kick normally, how you execute it.
Yeah, if you want to do a normal windmill kick, obviously you double tap, crouch to... Emmanuel?
What the fuck?
Did you break that?
I thought it was a ballerina.
Alright, that's probably broken. We'll have to look at it. What?
I swear that wasn't broken last time I saw it, but I take full responsibility.
Ideally, how it's supposed to work is you double tap to kick, and then you jump to do a windmill kick. And whenever you do a windmill kick, you can jump and like launch off of enemies, because every instance you hit an enemy with a windmill kick, you actually get a little extra speed. We probably have to cap that. I don't know if it is currently capped, but we do have to cap it. I think you get a little too much speed from it, but... One idea that we put forth is if you do a fully charged homing charged attack, you will instead do a windmill kick outside of the homing attack.
Yeah. It also only works if you kill an enemy, technically. If you don't kill an enemy, you just bounce off of them.
Yeah, so if I went, there's an enemy over here that looks like a lot of health.
Also, I'm opening up the project so I can fix that bug.
So if I hit this enemy here, I'm just going to bounce off of it, and it's going to slip to the geometry.
Nice.
I didn't kill the enemy, so I don't do the windmill kick. However, if I did kill the enemy, I would do a windmill kick out of the homing attack. We're not entirely sure if we want to keep this. That's the reason we are bringing it up here, is because we don't know if we should go forward with this idea. It could be interesting, but it could also, one, be overpowered, and two, it could be... it could be disruptive to the flow of gameplay or combat. So... we are not entirely sure if we should actually implement this idea. That's the reason we're bringing it to you guys now, so we can get your guys' input. And if you think it's a good idea, we can probably tune it and then add it and keep it in. Or if you don't, if you guys think it's a bad idea and it shouldn't be added, then we will remove it. Like if it disrupts the flow of platforming or combat too much. Try sitting on a flying enemy. Flying around.
Oh yeah, that one.
Is bugged. The homing attack where you sign it. You mean the perch? Where you perch on an enemy?
Yeah, he's talking about if you perch on the Egghog that's flying around, because it's on a spline, Sonic will like spin around him, which I don't know why that's happening, but I knew it's related to the spline that reset it. Because no other flying enemy or any other enemy does that. We haven't just really looked into it because we haven't seen it as really a big priority.
But yeah, we will look into it. So this flying gun hawk. Yeah, that's to be expected. If I had to guess, it probably has to do with the fact that the perch point is moving around. It can't decide on where the fuck to put Sonic, so... I think it's expecting the perch point to be sitting still, but I don't know. I haven't looked at the perch code.
It's weird, though, because if the enemy does move around while you're doing that, from what I remember, it doesn't cause a big fuss, but I think it's the spline for some reason.
So there are some other weird things with the Sonic rig that I haven't fixed yet, like what appears to be excessive materials, which could be pretty...
Oh, yeah. There's a bunch of, like, extra materials.
I'll try and fix this up a little more, and we'll share with the boys once I determine whether or not it actually works properly. Yeah, there's additional materials for some reason. I know that there's already a lot of combat, but what about the wind kick thing from Sonic Lost World 3DS? Alright, so... Oh, excuse me. If you remember earlier on in the stream, I know I keep referring back to things that we were talking about earlier on in the stream. We were talking, or I mentioned the fact that we... Ooh, there's something wrong with Sonic's jump.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird. Like, Sonic is not able to accelerate out of a jump. Is that a normal bug? Oof, yeah, something's not right. Oh well. Oh, I must have been there. Yeah, for some reason Sonic couldn't accelerate while jumping. It was kind of weird. But if you are familiar with the combat at all, you'll know that Sonic's crouch modifier while doing a homing attack is called the homing wrecker. In which, if you do a homing wrecker, Sonic will launch forward after killing an enemy, and if he hits an enemy with it and it does not kill it, Sonic will pop back and do a drop dash. We are thinking of completely removing this ability and reworking it so that it is a completely different move. And the move that we were thinking of replacing it is a combo move. An idea that Emmanuel and I had put together, because we've been thinking about it for quite a while, and an idea that we kind of really want to prototype and try out is a pseudo homing stomp ability, similar to Knuckles' charge, where if you charge up multiple times, you can do multiple attacks. This is a little bit different, where whenever you press the crouch button, Sonic will begin to charge up a stomp. And depending on how long you charge the stomp, it'll do one of two things. A simple tap of the button will cause Sonic to do a homing kick, similar to Lost World, where Sonic will kick the enemy. But what we're thinking of doing is having the kick auto-lock the thing you're kicking into a nearby enemy, so that way you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. If you homing kick a single health enemy, you will kick them and hit another enemy, potentially killing them both. If you hit a fully, like an enemy with a lot of health, you'll probably only do a little bit of health or a little bit of damage to two enemies at once, and potentially even stun them. We haven't really figured out or decided upon what to go for with the damage values. But if you do a fully charged homing wrecker...
Cheers, mate! The cavalry's here!
Thank you for the subscription. I assume that is to the YouTube. We're still planning on calling it the homing wrecker, but if you do a fully charged homing wrecker, Sonic will stomp into an enemy in a single instance of burst damage, and probably no longer launch himself. If he does launch himself, he's not going to be in a rolling state. We have considered the idea that if you kick an enemy, Sonic launches himself backwards slightly, because you're doing a weaker homing wrecker rather than a stronger homing wrecker. But regardless, we're not going to be forcing you into a rolling state like we do with the homing wrecker currently, where if you charge it up, you will either do a drop dash forward or backwards. A lot of people were getting confused. JK flew by already. That sucks. Homing wrecker was my favorite. The reason we're getting rid of it is a lot of people have had problems with it. Most people don't seem to have too much of an issue with the other combat abilities. Things like the homing launch and the tomahawk spike. Like, people enjoy that move. A lot of people really like the homing chain. We're probably gonna alter the homing chain a little bit more. But the one move that most of everyone who tries out this combat seems to have a problem with is the homing wrecker. And mostly, I can definitely see why this would be a problem. The homing wrecker is a huge problem in enclosed areas, just because it constantly wants to launch you. And if you're in an enclosed area, what good does that do? You're just going to get launched into a wall and your combo is broken.
Yeah.
So we're trying to avoid the idea of launching the character, and if we do launch the character, we're not going to force the player into a rolling state that they then have to get out of. The idea of reworking the homing wrecker is that instead of having to sit there and hold on an enemy for so long, you simply hold on the charge to detect how much damage you want to do, and then it outputs a single tick of burst damage rather than sitting there holding on the enemy, seeing if you kill it or not. So that's primarily the reason why we're reworking the homing wrecker. Hopefully this new homing wrecker move that we're coming up with and hopefully can prototype relatively soon. It'll probably be after Knuckles, but while like somewhere along the line while we're working on Tails. Once we get it prototyped and worked out a little bit better, we can really decide if it flows better. On paper, I think it is going to flow better than the currently existing homing wrecker, because it gives Sonic a little bit more in terms of projectile moves, as well as a little bit more widespread damage other than just the homing chain. It also allows you to do more single target DPS damage rather than having to do a homing chain, without the flaws of the fucking move launching you halfway across the map, you know, in a rolling state. So
yeah, the main thing you lose is that if you did want to launch yourself, you can no longer, you may not be able to do that, or at least in a limited sense.
This was which is it a little bit, but
the reason why actually I proposed the move the windmill kick for an charge move is because I want to give Sonic an alternative, or possibly the only way he can possibly gain speed from a standstill with a homing attack. Because before you could do that with the homing charge, so that's the reason why
there's still
I thought of it.
Like the momentum homing attack.
Yeah, but you have to be at speed to like really get anything out of it. If you do it from a standstill, you actually really don't go anywhere. Also, you have the spin dash too, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's not really a huge issue, which is why I'm not. And the boost, which is why I'm not attached to it. But you know, if it's an option that people want, you know, why not try it out?
Can't really figure out the homing wrecker. Azeria, it's not too difficult. All you got to do is, whilst doing a homing attack, you either press the F key on keyboard or the Y or triangle key on controller, like so, and you will launch upward. And then you simply tap the key a second time. You do have to time it correctly. It's a skill timer thing. It's not going to give you the move for free. But you simply tap the button again, and you will launch yourself. You don't have to do a second homing attack. I do see a lot of people get confused about that. They try to do a second homing attack, which we probably need to remove the homing tag from the enemy once they get hit with the homing launch. That way you can't sit there and home attack on them the second time.
That or just makes it you can't homing attack during that window.
But it's not super difficult. Once you get the timing down, you can pretty consistently do it. It's just a timing thing. So,
didn't we spend like a solid hour or two coming up with the name for it, by the way?
We did. We sat down and just thought of a name for the move.
Yeah. Super Genocide Tomahawk Kick Mark 3.5.
Yeah.
You got hecked. I don't know why that happened.
I don't know. Probably it's because this the hitbox was for some reason for the enemy.
Yeah, they're gonna get changed. I know we keep saying that, but they will be.
Isn't that the spike sound effect for Smash Brothers? It is.
Don't say anything.
But don't tell
about
Nintendo, or else they'll shut us
Don't tell Nintendo. Over as fucking sound effect.
Yeah. Knowing Nintendo, they would do it too. A lot of people really like the homing chain, and a lot of people like or not really a lot of people. Some people like the homing wrecker. Personally, my favorite move is the Tomahawk Spike. That's personally my favorite speed character move. I just really
There's always going to be people who don't, you know, like a way a move is.
Bitch. We need to make that stop move or that stop sound effect a location sound effect. Because that playing absolutely everywhere is kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's.
What?
He's talking about the hammer, please. The hammer, egg
The
hammer.
That stomp sound effect where it just
It
plays
is using location.
Oh, it's really fucking loud.
I don't know why it's not working properly, but it is meant to be using location.
Yeah, it is. It does play everywhere. I noticed that.
It
Even
plays
if you go in a
everywhere.
different room.
The sound doesn't get quieter at any point in time. So.
I know what I said.
That's so annoying.
You could probably just delete the enemy for now since you're not saving changes.
But anyway, cease or be deceased. Your favorite move is the homing chain and the air dodge? Yeah, a lot of people really like the homing chain, and I don't blame them. The homing chain is a really cool fucking move.
Which is why I want to completely change it so that it sucks.
Emmanuel does want to change it so it sucks.
Well, I guess I did say that. So I guess I should mention that because that was another idea I had. So as you notice, the homing chain, you honestly have to set it up by looking at enemies, or if you use a controller, just aim your stick in a general direction of the enemy while doing it.
For a second right here. So I can show this off. It does work
All right.
differently on controller. I actually completely forgot about this.
Yes.
The maximum amount of enemies you could chain. The maximum amount of enemies you could chain, if you dedicate one link towards them, I think is 6 or 7. I honestly, the number escapes me.
I thought it was 8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's 8.
Okay. So I keep forgetting I buffed the number.
Actually, it's 10. You can add it up to 10.
Yeah, you just have to do it really quickly because remember it drains constantly, so you're incentivized to do it quickly.
I actually completely forgot to mention this in the tutorial as well as in like any stream or video ever. But the homing chain actually functions differently if you play on controller. It's actually a bit smoother. Like you can alternate which target you go to without having to aim your camera.
Yeah, instead you just push the stick towards the closest enemy, and Sonic will prioritize them. And of course, if that fails, he'll just get the nearest target.
I did not mean
You can also slightly move while you're in. You could do this before, and it was actually really fucking stupid. But you could slightly move while in this mode. I may nerf it even further. Yeah. I guess I should talk about what I want to change. So one idea we'll probably may actually do is instead of making so you have to press the button multiple times to like lock onto enemies, and you can also, if you want to deal multiple hits to a single enemy, you press A while you're locked onto them. But that's something you can also do. I'm thinking about maybe making it more like how you lock onto enemies in as Gammas for Sonic Adventure 1 or Tails and Eggman from Sonic Adventure 2, where instead you just hold the reticle over the enemy and you hold down the chain button and you'll automatically just lock onto them and add chains to them constantly, rapidly. So instead of you having to press the button repeatedly, you just kind of look over them and you'll automatically lock onto multiple enemies at the same time, sort of, or in rapid succession. I proposed this to Fizz, and he seemed to be a fan of possibly trying it out. But then I went even further beyond. I had another idea of maybe this wouldn't be too hard to do programmatically, I think, so it can be possible. I just hadn't done before because it just seemed too hard. Is making so that the move functionally acts very similar to how it does in Lost World when you're in the running stages, where if you do a homing chain and hold down the chain button, instead of aiming, Sonic will just automatically go and chain enemies that are closest to him, so you wouldn't have to aim, which, kind of sucks if you do want to aim. So one idea I had also is if you charge up the homing chain before you launch off, so if you hold down the roll button, charge up, and then press the chain button, you can then aim it. So you could possibly have the best of both worlds, make the homing chain a bit faster normally, but also be able to aim it if you want to. But this is stuff I have to test out.
Yeah. Honestly, what it might end up being at the end of the day, I do like how the controller scheme works, where you just simply have to try and move in the direction that you want the homing chain to actually go, rather than having to move the camera. that's honestly not too bad. I never really play with controller, so I've never really tested it out all that much. I know Reese messes with it, but the controller version of it isn't actually too bad. I think the controller version of the homing chain flows rather smoothly, probably more so than the keyboard version. But with the downside that the keyboard version allows for a lot more customizability with it. Like, the thing with the controller version is you don't have to sit there and try to manually aim everywhere. You can rapidly tap, or you can rapidly add different targets to the chain, and you can have some influence over which one gets added next and when and where and such. But the big difference, obviously, is with the keyboard mouse. It requires a lot more manual input, but you basically get, like, complete manual control over how you want to add targets. So we might if some of these prototyped ideas end up not really working out all that well, we might just keep it how it is and just say there's a benefit to using keyboard mouse, and then there's a benefit to using controller, and whichever one you prefer is what you prefer. Probably what we could do, though, is have it so that if you really wanted to, you could set both of them to use either system. Like, you could tell keyboard and mouse to use the system that the controller uses, or you could tell the controller use the system the keyboard uses. So that way, the people who make the levels have the decision of deciding how they want it to work. But honestly, I think how it works well is fine. But I can understand why a lot of people would want to change it so that it flows better. I would argue that currently, right now, the homing chain is probably the least, or at least the most disruptive move, meaning it's the move that you have to stop what you're doing in order to build up its usefulness. But at the same time, the drawback, or like the counterweight to that drawback, is the fact that because it's so customizable in the middle of gameplay, you can basically customize and decide for yourself how you want to go about combat. So it's a give and take situation. And I think what we need to do and primarily focus on is allowing people to decide which give and which take they want to decide upon, whether they want keyboard controls or if they want controller or gamepad controls. Because I honestly don't want to spend a whole lot of time working on this refactored scanning system. It is interesting, and it'll be nice to play around with to see how it functions. And if it is absolutely way more beneficial at the end of the day, then we can use it. But I honestly don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, because we have spent copious amounts of time on this combat that I'm about ready to move on.
Yeah, it is getting a bit old. There's some ideas we want to flesh out, like Sonic and other Speed characters, but we're probably going to really focus on it like after this update and work on it more in a later update.
Speaking of the boost, are you gonna a different way to get boost other than rings? Yeah, we're not currently working on it, but we do have the idea that we want to give the option for players to choose like a dropped resource that enemies can drop, or that containers can have inside of it, kind of like what Secret Rings and Black Knight had it, so that you can gain boost through other methods. Currently, the only 3 ways to gain boost at the moment are collecting rings, defeating enemies, and grabbing white wisps.
Oh, and trick ramps too.
And trick ramps. Do they currently do that? No, they
don't. I think they do.
They don't, because I had to rework them with the interface. They're
supposed
supposed
they should
to.
at some point.
They're supposed to, but they don't currently. So you can do it with white wisps. You can't do it with rings currently because we did rework how rings work, but the rings will allow you to add boost. And defeating an enemy will allow you to add boost.
Yeah, we need to also change that slightly too at some point, but it's not, it does its job.
It's not a big deal, but we are planning on adding a extra resource that allows people to decide if they want to use that to earn boost. Inside of the characters folder, I have character objects, and I have a character object interface that is specifically used for like interactables inside the levels, such as Tails' bombs. These 2 are character objects that the characters either spawn or use. Excuse me. And in the case of like little energy crystals, like the ones that you see in 06, or like the energy orbs you grab from enemies in generations to refill your boost, you know? Something like that. That would be considered a character object because it spawns in and it flies directly to your character and it interacts with your character in a specific way. Because that's like its sole purpose. But technically rings could be considered a character object too, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah, they're more so level objects. One idea I did have is that if we do add in like if we make so the enemies when you hit them, it'll mostly be a particle effect. You know, they drop orbs that gravitate towards Sonic and refill his boost. Could maybe make so that if you're boosting while the orbs gravitate towards you, they like reflect off the boost cone, just to like disincentivize using the boost to gain energy. Because right now, like you know, if you boost a bunch of enemies, you just get a whole bunch of boost. But yeah, there's a whole bunch you can do with that idea.
I just noticed I think I might have ported over Dash Engine Sonic's materials on my version of Infinity Plus. Oh, I see. Or at least made something similar. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't know what the materials in Dash Engine are. Egg Pawns or Egg Fighters. I know some people don't like Egg Fighters. But I actually kind of like the design of Egg Fighters. Like their like little headlight things remind me of the buttons inside of like on Eggman's coat. Their bulbous top and skinny lanky arms remind me of Eggman's design, where he is a very bulbous round character, but his arms and legs are super lanky. These look like Egg Fighters. They look like they could have been designed by Eggman, and they're pretty neat because they're not quite as versatile as Egg Pawns. They have built-in guns, so any of them could have a basic projectile weapon, but they also have, like, you know, the same versatile hands that Egg Pawns have, so that they can swing melee weapons or hold shields. So I don't think they're quite as versatile as Egg Pawns, but I like their design a whole lot. Versus Egg Pawns. Egg Pawns are kind of a classic. I really like Egg Pawns. They have their customizability, their accessorability. Like, you're able to accessorize them really well due to their design. Like Sonic Colors. One thing I loved about Sonic Colors is how they accessorized all the Egg Pawns inside them. They gave them like construction hats and pickaxes, or chef's hat and whisks, or samurai hats and swords, things like that. And you can also give them shields and guns. They don't have built-in guns like the Egg Fighters do, but they are capable of, you know, using guns, which I guess Egg Fighters could also use other guns as well because they have hands, so I wouldn't see why they wouldn't be able to do so. So the whole Egg Pawn versus Egg Fighter thing, I don't care. I like them both. I don't know if I have a preference between the two, but yeah, whatever.
Personally, I prefer the Egg Gunners for Sonic 06 because that game is great.
I actually
that was a lie.
All of the enemy designs in 06. I hate every single enemy in 06. I think they are all designed stupidly. I hate all of the designs in 06. But, you know, if you like them, that's fair. I'm not gonna call you stupid for liking them. But
I do like in all honesty, I actually do did kind of like them because like I was never really like I was too young to really have nostalgia for like the old Eggman designs and stuff. So I was like, "Ooh, these look cool," but like I can see why they're not Eggman. I don't mind them personally.
I don't have nostalgia for egg machines. Probably the only nostalgia I have are for the classic egg enemies. You know, like Spinies, the Grabbers, Moto Bugs, the bees. I don't remember what the bees are called. Choppers. Like I have some, or Buzz Bombers. I have some nostalgia for them, but honestly, like every single game had enemies that were unique to their locations, so I wasn't able to like attach to certain specific enemies unless they just absolutely stood out to me. You know, like Slicers. Then I hated them.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the one downside to classic enemies to modern enemies, is because they weren't used more frequently. Like, they were solely used in their individual zones. It made them harder for me to stay attached to them because they appeared so less frequently. But at the same time, it also makes them more iconic because they are designed specifically for that zone. So there's some upsides and there's downsides to like all eras of enemies in Sonic. I don't think there's like one era of enemy that is like objectively the best or the worst, except for 06. Fuck that. I also like them a lot. but that could be some form of bias on my end. Grabbers are my favorite classic enemy. I don't know which one my favorite classic enemy is.
Fuck grabbers. They gave me like I was scared of spiders when I was little, so when I saw them, I didn't like them.
They freaked me out as a kid too. Because I
especially in not the cutesy one we see here, but like the way they looked in 2D and like Sonic 2. Like I don't know why they look scarier.
I mean, if you think these are fucking cutesy, you should see the ones in Lost World. Everything in Lost World is cutesy, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Lost World has the dumbest enemy designs.
And they all have like bulbous eyes.
It's all chibi. And I like chibi. Like I like chibi designs. I think they're adorable, but chibi enemies? Like fuck off with that, mate. What was you gonna say, Reese?
Nothing. I wasn't saying anything. Just said just chibi.
Oh. Lost World causes me pain. Yeah, Lost World causes me a lot of pain too. I don't really think we have much of anything to talk about. I think we've pretty much talked about most of everything we need to. Oh, there is one other thing we could talk about, or at least mention. I don't know if we're gonna go anywhere with it though. So. A couple of days ago, I was talking with Shadow.
Oh, this.
And Shadow is working on his own personal project, much like I'm working on my own personal project outside of Infinity Plus. But for one, I'm going to start spending a little bit more time on my personal project. But Shadow and I were talking about projects, and he came across a default plugin that exists in Unreal that's not on by default. You have to turn it on. But it is a plugin that is essentially an ability manager. And it is very interesting. And it has a lot of unique features and stuff. And it's also super helpful in things like multiplayer or online play. Because this plugin essentially it's an ability manager plugin. I think it's pretty much just called gameplay abilities. If I came over here, plugins, if I went to, I think it's under gameplay. Yeah, gameplay abilities. That's the name of the plugin. It essentially has its own gating system. So you would create abilities, and the abilities would have you can give the ability tags. And what it does is whenever you call that ability, in the code, the plugin will automatically check the tags, and it'll say, hey, you have this tag. You can only do this ability if none of these tags are currently being used. So it's got an auto gate system in it that you can set up. Like, hey, I want to do this, but only if I'm not doing these things, or I want to do this only if I'm doing these things, you know. So it's a great system for tagging. It's also a great system for communicating with other actors in terms of like damage and other aspects. It's super complex and super deep because it's best used for really deep mechanics or deep combat systems like RPGs or JRPGs or even fighting games to an extent. Because it can handle things like tick damage from flames, or paralysis damage or ice damage or things like that, or poison. It could also handle things like stuns or delayed attacks or something like that. It can handle a whole lot of things. It's super complicated, and like I mentioned before, it's also super beneficial with online play because it has some online features that allow your client to communicate with the server, and it has fail-safes in it to that fire on interrupts. Like if your PC says, hey, I'm going to do this, I've cleared these checks, and then the server says, okay, you're doing this, I'm going to look at these checks. Oh no, on my end, these checks didn't clear out, therefore you shouldn't be able to do this. Normally, you would have to build in systems in your game to account for that, but this plugin automatically accounts for that, and it reverts changes. Like, oh, the server said no, therefore I shouldn't do this. So online multiplayer, or just online gaming in general, with this plugin would be super beneficial. And online multiplayer, or at least local multiplayer, is something that we have really considered. Local multiplayer is something that could be adapted into online multiplayer. I don't know if that's something we're going to do, but it would be super beneficial if, well, like, this system would greatly benefit it if we did. God damn, my nose is itchy. However, there's one major downside to this. Actually, two major downsides to this system. I'm sitting here explaining all these cool features, and you're like, wow, this is great. Why don't you just use it? Well, there's two pretty hefty downsides. One of them is on our end. We would have to learn this brand new system. We would have to sit down, take the time to learn how all of this plugin works inside and out. We would also have to adjust and rework all of our systems to use this new plugin, which can be super beneficial at the end of the day. It might be more beneficial than what we are currently doing, but it would take a lot of time. It would add a lot of extra development time to the project because we would have to sit down and do that. And the second, even bigger issue that isn't not only an issue for us, but it's an issue for literally anyone then to fix up Infinity Plus, is that this plugin is not completely Blueprint compatible. There are parts of this Blueprint that absolutely require you to have C++ knowledge. And while learning how to code in C++, like written code, and as well as learning how to compile things in Unreal through written code sent through from Visual Studios, that's something I've always wanted to learn how to do, because I basically only know how to use the blueprinting system. Excuse me. So that is something that would be really nice for me to learn. However, that means anyone that uses our project would have to learn it too. And every single person that would learn this and wants to use these abilities would have to learn the C++ code. So we're not entirely sure if we want to go forward with it, because the drawbacks to this are pretty hefty in comparison to the benefits of using this. Like, the benefits are also extremely hefty. I'm not saying that these benefits at the end of the day aren't worth it, because they very well could be worth it. But they could also be, like, the drawbacks could also be, could add a lot of extra development time to the project, as well as provide a lot of headache for people who want to use the project. Because there are some people who will use Infinity Plus expertly and like learn how to use Unreal, and they'll figure out how to do all these different kinds of things, and they can do a whole bunch of custom work, which I really hope to see in the future. But then there are people who are going to treat the project like it's Mario Maker, and they just use it for its basic drag and drop concepts and ideas and stuff, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But if any of those people want to like do anything more than that, they would have to learn more than just how to use a blueprinting system. The benefit of this, how we have things set up currently, is that if someone wants to do something custom, at most they just have to learn how to do the basic blueprinting system in Unreal, which is relatively easy to pick up and understand if you understand anything about coding. But if we went with this plugin and you wanted to do some more customizable things, especially when it comes to the character abilities and maybe even interactable objects, we would also have to learn C++. Is the thing. Like, on top of blueprints, you'd have to learn C++ to an extent. So that's the drawback of using this, which is why we haven't decided on whether or not we want to do it. That was a whole lot of a mouthful, but it required a lot of explanation, and it's something that we need to think over and talk about, but we just haven't come to a decision on what we're going to do. We're definitely going to look into it a little bit more, see what does and doesn't require C++. Because not all of it requires C++. There is a lot of setup work that requires it. And as far as I'm concerned, I do believe making modifications to the system, for the most part, will require C++ to an extent, based on what Shadow has learned from it. Because while I've been working on stuff, Shadow's been doing a lot more research on the plugin. And it seems like you do, even though to an extent we could set it up in C++ and no one would ever have to touch the C++ code again, that may or may not be the case, depending on how it ends up getting set up. But
if I may ask, I know we're in stream, so you don't have to elaborate. Like, what kind of things do you have to customize in C++? If you were to give an example.
I'm not sure yet. Shadow and I haven't talked about it again since we elaborated on it last time.
Okay.
And he is currently trying to get it set up in his personal project. He wants to learn how it functions a little bit more. And I've been, like, on occasion poking my nose into it, see how things are going, and seeing if I can help anywhere where I can. But for the most part, it's kind of out of my range of understanding. But I don't. We don't know yet. Like I said, Shadow and I are going to be doing a little bit more research onto it. I've got a lot of things I got to research, both in terms of Infinity Plus, in terms of my personal project, and just in terms of my personal life. There's a lot of things I got to be looking into here soon, so I'm going to be busy. But I honestly don't know yet. But Shadow and I are going to be looking into it.
Okay, makes sense.
Faz said about the Sonic material thing I did, I just somewhat modified the original material, didn't import anything. Oh, I see. So, yeah, that was a tangent that I needed to get out there because it's important to know that if we do end up going forward with this idea, it would prolong the development cycle a little bit as we learned and adapted our systems to it.
Yeah, we will most likely use it after this update.
Yeah, it would be done after this update. I would agree. But we've not come to a decision yet. We may end up saying no. We're already too far into it to warrant reworking things. Because I know one of the big things that would be beneficial is the online multiplayer. I know we aren't planning on setting up online multiplayer because as far as I'm concerned, it's primarily set up for server-related online multiplayer. I don't know if it's set up for peer-to-peer online multiplayer. Maybe. I mean, technically peer-to-peer isn't too different. Just whoever is the host is considered a server, I believe. But it's not that simple. I don't know. We will have to think about it. I just needed to bring that up so that everyone's aware of it, but also everyone's aware that we haven't decided upon what we're doing. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we're definitely doing this, ergo we're going to be spending a whole lot more time on development on shit because we want to rework this one aspect, when the benefits of it may not actually outweigh the extra development time we would have to pour into doing it. So we haven't decided yet. And if anyone is aware of this, and if anyone knows more about this system, and this is for also people in the VOD who watch it on YouTube later, if anyone is more well aware of how the system works, you're more than welcome to get in contact with us and let us know to see if it's even worth our time. Please.
Yeah, that would be great.
Indeed.
So, yeah, that's all I've got at the moment. I think I've said literally everything I need to say for this dev stream.
Yeah, I think we have things we need to get back to doing with Knuckles, Tails, Sonic. Especially Knuckles, but also like we need to think of more design ideas for Tails. I've actually been talking to Wolfbane, and there was that one idea he had that he's implementing that I would like to try out some of Tails. But we'll probably talk more about that more openly later because we don't want to just put out random stuff and not even touch on it later, you know?
Yeah, and I'd rather not talk too much into detail what we talk about with Bane because we don't know what Bane is comfortable with sharing publicly or not. So,
yeah,
for the most part, every time we talk to Bane, it's usually in a public setting. Like, we don't talk to him privately. It's always in his server, which, by the way, if you haven't yet, you should definitely go check out the Sonic Momentum server and the Sonic Momentum engine in general. It's really, really cool. But, yeah. We do talk to him about stuff, but like I said, I try to avoid talking about it too much because I don't know what he does and doesn't want to share, you know?
Yeah.
All right, well, we're about 2 hours in. Time for a tier list. No, I'm kidding.
No, I think we're done.
No, but tier list. Come on, let's do it.
No, it's MLK Day. I'm going to spend the rest of it relaxing that I've pushed my Knuckles changes. I will definitely work on them again, but I'm probably going to take a bit of a break from working on it.
I only got about 5 hours of sleep. I'm way too fucking tired. I might work on the project tonight. I haven't decided yet, though. But I'm not going to work on it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Tier Bloodborne bosses. Ooh, I would love to do a Bloodborne boss tier. I remember I have played through and beaten Bloodborne.
Oh god, don't give him ideas.
Bloodborne has some really cool bosses. Alright, well, first is Vom. No, I'm kidding. I actually hate Vom. Vom is a stupid ass boss. Mainly because it's a giant fucking spider, and I hate spiders. Vone would be at the bottom of my tier list purely because of the spider, even though it's not actually a spider, considering it only has. Well, yeah, I guess spiders do have 2 body parts. Anyway, I wish I could play Bloodborne, but they still haven't done a PC port. They probably won't ever do a PC port, unfortunately, which is
nice.
I would totally play Bloodborne again on my PC. I don't want to have to go into my living room and play on my or not my PS4. It's actually Shadow's PS4, but I don't know. I think if anyone else has any questions or comments related to the project, you can go ahead and share it now before we get on another 20-minute tangent about Big the Cat. You know.
So yeah, Big the Cat has took over the project, guys, and we're being held hostage.
Yeah, Big the Cat is actually the lead developer of Infinity Plus, which would explain a lot. I mean,
Would explain.
Oh Lord, he's coming! Wait, help! No.
Out of his feet coming.
Emmanuel's dead. Big got to him.
Shucks.
We'll be calling it here in a minute. Last call for any, questions or concerns or comments or heckles towards British people,
What?
Nothing. I didn't see anything. No. I've heard some good evidence that they're working on it, but I don't get my hopes up. I wouldn't get my hopes up either. Oh.
God, stretch.
I do gotta stretch. I want to play the new Pokemon Snap. I remember playing the original Pokemon Snap. That was so fun. I've
never really been interested in them.
I think I still have the original Pokemon Snap.
I do.
Big X Blaze. That is not a conversation I want to have right now, or ever really.
Tells 2X agrees. No.
You can have your ships, sure, whatever. I don't want to get into that. I won't judge you for having ships, but no thank you. Alright, well. Time to turn the stream into a Puyo Puyo Tetris stream. That's what we're gonna do.
No.
We're gonna go play Puyo Puyo Tetris.
We're gonna turn into a Noita stream.
I want them to release a second one on Steam. Like, they've got the second Puyo Puyo Tetris on like all the consoles, but the Steam release has a to be determined on it. And they started the Sega stream the other day saying that they've got an announcement to make, and then they didn't make a fucking announcement. And now I'm upset.
Wasn't it just a new Sonic skin?
Yeah, it was the Sonic stuff, but I'm just like, come on, give us a fucking PC release date. It's on Steam. It's saying to be determined, as in like you've already determined that it's going to be on Steam. Just like give us a rough idea. Noita would be a cool stream, honestly. I wouldn't be against doing a Noita stream. I'm bad at Noita is the problem.
And also, you're gonna hate me for this, but I told you about the chat feature, right?
Oh yeah, there is a. Is that a mod you have to install though?
Probably, but it looks really fun. There's a mod that turns everything into ducks, and there are of course mini mods that will just kill you.
Yeah, I'm not good enough or know enough about Noita to warrant doing modded playthroughs, but if I get better at it and like get more into it, then maybe. But I am not against a Noita stream. I enjoy the game, even though I'm terrible at it. So, you managed to beat Noita? I guess
Impossible.
I still haven't beaten it. I've gotten as far as like to the jungle level that one time, and then I burned to death.
I get to like level 3, and then some bullshit kills me usually. It's usually not my fault. It's either something randomly kills me out of nowhere, or I get gangbanged by a fuck ton of enemies out of nowhere. Like,
I can relate.
I round a corner, and there's literally 20 enemies sitting there, all pointing their guns at me, and I just immediately die. But
also, at that point, there's a good chance that something. Remember that once my fucking exploded?
Oh yeah.
They're in a really good run because that box was half burnt. It was like half of it was gone, but it was still apparently burning and active, which is bullshit. So mad about that one.
One time I walked into a bar. Like, there's just straight up a bar sitting down there, and there's like, those enemies that fly around and have guns, They're like a soldier enemy. The bar was just full of enemies, like those enemies. They were just sitting there having drinks. I walked in there, and they're like, what the fuck? And then they pulled their guns on me. I got out of there. I didn't die immediately, but it was really weird.
Yeah. I also hated how, like, I wish they made so that if you're in a safe areas and you try out spells, they don't immediately hurt you, maybe. Because there was one time I was trying a spell that was explosive, and it just blew up in my face. I'm like, what the fuck? I lost half my health immediately.
There are a couple of things about Noida I think could be done to improve it, but I also don't know what in-game Noida looks like, so...
The game encourages you to break it to finish the game. Like,
I mean,
that's the main appeal of it.
That's what all roguelikes are like, though. Like, if you want to beat Risk of Rain 2, you essentially got to break it. The same thing with Risk of Rain 1. If you want to beat Risk of Rain 1, you got to break it. Which, by the way, those are really good roguelike games. If you guys like roguelikes, play Risk of Rain 2 and Risk of Rain 1.
What about Deep Rock Galactic? I did buy it. I just haven't played it yet.
We could try it out at some point. I wouldn't be against it. I've only played a little bit of it, but I would totally be into like trying to get into it. It was interesting, but it's definitely a game that you want to play with more people. It's not really a single player game.
Okay, that's fair.
A Fizz Whiz walks into the bar and fucking dies violently. Yeah, that's essentially what happens. That's what happens every time I walk into a bar. It's difficult as hell, and then once I get super lucky and had plenty of opportunities to kick booty. I see.
That's how the game is, honestly.
Risk of Rain 2 is pretty fun, but I've not played it in a while. I love Risk of Rain 2. I'm not a big roguelike fan. I don't enjoy most roguelike games, but Risk of Rain 2, I absolutely love.
My favorite roguelike right now would still probably be Enter the Gungeon. I haven't played it in a solid minute, but I did have a lot of fun playing it.
The little bit of time I spent playing Into the Gungeon, I didn't seem to enjoy it. What do you want?
Because you're a
Reese?
bitch.
I was just saying to Emmanuel to look at something.
Sonic X Metal Sonic? No, thank you. Like I said, no thank you. I'm not interested in getting into ship talk. I might stream again later on today. I've been meaning to stream more frequently. I was going to stream Sonic Battle yesterday, but I was just not in the mood, so I might do that today. I don't know. We'll see. I might do a non-Sonic related stream later on today. Who knows?
A non-Sonic stream? What heresy is this?
Could play Noida, or if Emmanuel ends up wanting to, you play Deep Rock Galactic or something. I don't know. All I know is I'm probably not going to work on the project until way later on today because I'm too tired for it.
Yeah. I'm probably... I may actually not be on today. I may play Smash Bros. With some friends.
Oh, Smash Brothers.
It's huge.
Deep Rock Galactic. I've only tried a little bit of Deep Rock Galactic, and I kind of enjoyed it, but it's a game I want to play with friends, though, is the thing. Like, I think I played 2, maybe 3 rounds solo, but because it involves in, like, arachnid-like insects, it freaks the hell out of me. I don't like super dark places, and I don't like spiders, so Deep Rock Galactic actually scares me, but I have, like, enjoyed it whenever I played it. You love it. It's best with friends for sure. All right, that's good. That's what I thought it was. It was like it'd be best for friends, but I don't have any friends that want to play with me, Emmanuel.
Wow. You should make better friends.
I should.
Got him. I'm a shitty person.
You won't.
Feels bad, man. All right, well, I've got to use the restroom. We've been going for about 2 hours and nearly 10 minutes.
Same.
Like I said, I might stream again later on today. Haven't decided yet.
Also, Reese, what the hell are you doing your stream?
I've made a machine.
We'll adjust that later.
Yeah, Reese is just spinning right around.
He's playing Minecraft like a nerd.
He is.
Are those saw blades? Are you gonna die? I hope you die.
Yeah, he's gonna die. Yeah. All right. Yeah. See you, Tails Z. We will see everybody next time. Our next dev stream will be on the 1st of February. Hey, that's the day before my birthday. My birthday is February 2nd. Where our next dev stream is February 1st.
Very
Let's
nice.
make it terrible.
It'll be the worst dev stream of all time.
Yeah.
All right. So this dev stream will be uploaded on the 25th, as we do the Monday after. And of course, if you guys want, you can join us on Fridays. We're bringing back Fan Game Fridays. We did it last Friday and the Friday before, and we're going to do it again this Friday and next Friday. I'm thinking of probably taking a Fan Game Friday or 2, maybe do some playthroughs of Sonic Royal Blast 2 and torture myself because I hate that game. But everyone
Oh,
seems to
God.
like it.
Oh
so.
yeah.
I hope everyone has a great day, and we will see everybody next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.